Hi, I'm Kevin Cannon. I'm on the Keith Andrew Show. It's a pretty good show, and you should really check them out. Give them a shot.
For people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even if having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you want to be. Prove them they can stand out to something. So the first question I want to ask you is, first off, thank you for your service. And the second one I want to ask you, as a professional actor, who do you admire and why?
Well, most of the professional actors are the A-list actors that you know. One thing that really bothers me is people always say to me, "Oh, gee, I love that actor." And they should say that they love their work, because most of the actors that people tell me they love, I've worked with, and they're garbage. They could care less about their fans. They're narcissistic, and they're just terrible, terrible people. As far as people I admire people like David Jolliffe in the Screen Actors Guild out in Los Angeles, who knows every contract, who's been fighting for the members, oh my God, his entire career. Francis Fisher, Jolie Fisher, Matthew Modine, who've been fighting for all the members. Recently, 12,000 plus members lost health care because for over a decade, our present leadership hasn't paid attention to our pension and health contributions, giving us lousy contracts, and now over 12,000 people lost their health insurance, and in the next 2 years, the majority of the members will lose their health insurance, and next is their pension. So the Screen Actors Guild is in really bad shape right now because of the people that were running it, and we're trying to get them out of there. Been trying for over a decade, but without financial resources, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to pay for mailing lists and to send literature to the members. And as an independent candidate, and I finance my own campaign, I don't accept donations. It's really hard. I've been fighting for over 12 years now, so hopefully in this election, maybe the members will wake up since they lost so much health care. And I got into acting because I am disabled. I have really, really extreme PTSD, and after many, many years working in my own company, I just couldn't be around people anymore. And then the only thing that saved me was I went and auditioned at Juilliard because I was so scared to audition and be around people with PTSD, and I just couldn't be around people. I just forced myself. My psychiatrist said, "Well, you were a trained actor when you got out of the service. Why don't you go back into that?" And I went to Juilliard, and they were really upset because I was 50 years old, and they looked at me like, "Well, what the hell are you doing here? You're not 18. And I did the audition, and they said, "Well, we really don't have people your age." And I said, "Well, your literature says any age." And then they got a little, nervous because it could be a lawsuit. And then they said, "Oh, you were great, we'll talk about having you, admitting you." And then I just had to tell them that I was pulling their leg, that I only applied to put myself in a situation so fearful that, I just had to do it. I wanted somebody's opinion, and who else better opinion than Juilliard? And they said, "Yep, just keep going out and audition till your knees stop shaking and you'll be all right." And then I joined the Screen Actors Guild. And I was really happy being around creative people. And then they had this, new people came in, and I knew right away our pension and health was in jeopardy with these people that would mismanage the funds. And then I went into union politics, and here I am today, 12 years later, still in politics, and I wish I never got into politics. It really takes a lot out of you.
But, Vince McMahon says, "I hate politics."
Oh God. I now in election season, I have all these trolls just attacking me. I had one gentleman attacked me, and he didn't have his name on his handle. But I knew who it was. I knew he was a man. And I said, and he called me a liar. And I said, "Sir, I do not lie." And then I was attacked, saying, "How dare you say, sir? How do you know I'm not a woman? You're against women. You're against LGBTQ." I mean, he just went on and on. So I had to advise him that at the beginning of the AIDS outbreak in New York City, I was running nightclubs, and 90% of my DJs and most of the clubs I worked at, like Club 82, was a predominantly gay club. And I turned my house into a halfway house for my DJs and others who had contracted AIDS, and began showing it with the face scars, and it was just horrible. And they couldn't work, they got evicted, and they'd end up staying in my house until we could place them in a hospital or somewhere permanently. And I remember my landlord screaming at me daily, just screaming, "Oh, how dare you have them people come into the home and your home, and I want them out, and you're going to kill my family." He didn't understand that's not how you get AIDS. Everyone was afraid back then, but they were attacking me about that, not knowing my background. So yeah, I mean, they really come after you. They really do. It's insane. So.
Absolutely. Not to talk about politics, but if you want to, look at the election. Personally, I'm not a fan of Trump, and he moved a lot of rocks, and all these people coming out of the woodwork. And I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Biden. I mean, he did some good. If he can help with the booster shots and get people vaccinated, that's perfect. The whole thing about the Middle East, it isn't just his fault. And it goes back, Obama, it goes back with Trump, and it doesn't make a difference. I always say, Afghanistan, everyone's been there. America, England, Russia, except for China, and China's smart ones. But no, Alexander the Great, if he's so freaking great, why couldn't he win there? But no one has ever won there. It's a losing battle. And these people are back in the freaking Stone Ages. But, when we leave, you knew it's going to be a real shit show. And we shouldn't have been there in the first place. What we should have done was the mission. Go in, kill Bin Laden, get out. Get in, get out. There's no reason to interfere. Once you start being a police officer and a police in the world, that's when you're going to turn everyone against you. But not to talk about politics. I hate politics.
Well, I agree with you from everything you said. I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm a New Yorker, and I've met Trump before, and he's, can I say he's a piece of shit on the radio?
Yeah, go ahead. You can say whatever you want.
He's a horrible, I've met him personally. He's a horrible human being. What he did to Colonel Vinderman, firing him, disgracing him for just doing his duty. I could never respect Trump if I was still in the military. Never, ever, ever. And Biden wasn't my first choice, but he's the best choice. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. You're going back, let's look at 2012, 2012, 2013. What happened to McRomney? Him was his magic underwear. I really didn't care about that. But all I want is someone that's capable of doing a good job. I don't care who you are, what you are. We need someone that knows what the hell they're doing. Absolutely. And look at New York City. You mentioned you're from the city. The freaking Mayor Blasio and Cuomo, burying the COVID deaths and the nursing home scandal. I don't care that he slept with women. I care about the nursing homes. That's the biggest thing. And now they're not doing remote learning, and schools opening, and they're telling people not to wear masks. This one crazy woman called on a radio station saying, "I'm pulling my kids out of," she lives in Long Island, "I'm pulling my kids out of Long Island schools because they have to wear a mask." So what? We're during a pandemic. Yes, You have rights. You want your rights? Either get vaccinated or you're gonna be killed. Not saying people are gonna go kill you, but you're not saying you're gonna get the virus. Once you get the virus, don't bitch and complain about, oh well, I should have taken it seriously. Now I have a ventilator with my name on it. You know what? Be smart, get vaccinated. It's not that big a deal. What I'm really hoping is for them to mandate it and make it mandatory.
Yeah, they actually they did make it mandatory for all city employees. I think as of September 7th or something like that. I mean, I was dying to get the shot. Literally, I was afraid. And finally, when I was able to get the shot, I got it at the VA hospital on East 23rd Street. March 11th, I got my second Pfizer shot. And just last week, I was one of the first ones. I got my my booster shot of the Pfizer. The minute it was available, I went and got it. So I would suggest everyone get the shot. I mean, it's just insane not to get it.
No, you're right. I heard yesterday, because so those stupid people that don't or against the vaccine, this thing is now going to linger for another year. And you know, the biggest thing is everyone get off their asses, do what you need to do, get vaccinated. You want to live your life, you want to go back to bar and baseball games, concerts, drink, whatever the hell you want to do.
Exactly.
Be safe. Because the longer you do not, the longer this crap is going to be around, and you're going to tear down everything and make it a whole lot worse.
Well, I mean that all goes to. I mean, I have close friends that I've known for 50 years, and some of them were Trump fans, and at the same time they don't want to get the vaccine. They're like, I'm going to wait to see when it's approved, when it's this, that. And these are people that I considered smart, that I've known all my life, and I just can't. It's just the strangest thing. I asked them, well, they'll give me facts, which aren't the facts, and then I'll give them the real facts. They'll say, oh, that's the fake news, and I just don't get it. I just really don't get it. It's logic. It's goddamn logic. You're gonna die. Get the shot. Trump's an idiot. He's a crook. I mean, what the hell? It's right. You know, if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, it's a duck. Trump's a duck.
He pretty much is.
Substitute an F for that and put a D, and that's what he really is.
No, I agree with you. Now, the next question I want to ask you is: my grandfather served in the Army. Were you in the Army, Air Force, Navy?
No, I was in the military police corps. I was in the human reliability program. It's a program that's got to be really, really smart, psychologically there. You can't be divorced. In other words, I was on loan to the NSA. I worked anti-terrorist during the, you remember the Munich massacre?
I heard of it. I don't remember
it was when all the Israeli athletes were murdered at the Munich Olympics in the 70s. I started at that time. I was on loan to the NSA, and I was tracking down Baader-Meinhof and Black September, and people like that. And the scariest part of it was sometimes I would go over to Eastern Europe, and I would get information. I would meet with operatives over there. But the scary thing was, according to NATO, with my clearance, I wasn't allowed within a kilometer of the wall of the Iron Curtain. If I was within a kilometer of Berlin of the wall, then Soviet operatives, which was Schmelem, Soviet liaison mission to the UN, they were allowed to travel in Western Europe, in free Europe, on certain roads on the Autobahn, but they would actually just try and kidnap people with my clearances. So when I did go to Eastern Europe, it really scared the hell out of me, because if I was caught, I would end up in a gulag, naked, frozen in Siberia in some prison. So it was a little nerve-wracking at times. I was really glad to get out.
No, absolutely. Do you have any good memories, Phil?
a lot of sex with Russian spies, trying to get information. I don't know if I should say that, but yeah, that was really good. Good German beer. Good Czechoslovakian beer. Yeah, I mean, there were some nice moments.
Well, let me ask you this.
Oh, no, there was a good moment. I was in the 1974 D-Day exercises. I was Omar Bradley's personal bodyguard, and I got to lay the wreath with him at the D-Day exercises, hold his arm, and lay the wreath with him. And that was pretty exciting. I enjoyed that.
Well,
I mean, to actually meet Omar Bradley.
Heard about him, I never met him.
Well, he was actually had really bad Alzheimer's. He was kind of a blithering idiot at the time, but it was still wonderful to meet him.
That's true. Now, the other question I want to ask you, do you listen to audiobooks, and do you like Tom Clancy?
Who?
Oh, Tom Clancy.
No, I don't listen to. You talking about the author?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I like the author, but I don't listen to. He has a podcast.
No, he does audiobooks. He does like the Rainbow Six, and he does.
Oh, audiobooks. No, I don't listen to audiobooks.
But the reason I bring it up, I find it very interesting that he knows things before they happen, and then he makes books about them.
What do you mean before they happen?
Like, for an example, they knew about a pandemic. They didn't know when or where or what it would be, but they knew about a pandemic happening. He knew.
Well, obviously everybody knew because the White House had a division on pandemic. They've been preparing for a pandemic for over a decade.
True.
And then when Trump got in, he got rid of those guys, and then he got a pandemic.
But
right?
It's true. You know, he knew or heard sources about 9/11 before it happened. And then there's certain other things that he knew, then he wrote books about, and then he listened to the book. And it's kind of like he had to know someone within the government who was like leaking him information and say, you know what, this would be a good story.
That's absolutely plausible.
What about you? Did you ever want to write a book about your life?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I was told that I should write a book, and I thought about writing a book. I wrote a book a long time ago, and an ex-wife threw the whole manuscript out. It was called Flo and Za, and it was about an alien who nobody could see but this prostitute in Harlem called Flo, and he would follow her around, and he was like in her head. He could talk to her and everything, and only she could talk to him. And he'd see a little kid grab a bike and run away with it, and he'd go, boy, everything is wonderful on earth. People just take what they want, and everything is great. He misunderstood everything. So, and an ex-wife threw the whole manuscript out, so I don't have a copy of it. But as far as writing a book about my life, I thought I would just take each individual day. I've had some really good, really interesting days, and just write about each experience. I have 50 experiences. Just each chapter would be a different day in my life. Because I've often felt that one day in my life would be better than a person's entire life, more exciting. Having somebody try and murder me with a knife, getting stabbed by a spy, just odd things that I've done that people will be like, oh my God, and just write them down, each experience, one after the other, and make a book out of it.
It's funny you should bring that up. Look at New York City. It's got to be a giant makeover that they really need. Right now it's the Wild West. For me, we need mental institutions and we need prisons open. This one person who's been arrested 34 different times. I mean, yeah, they arrest him, but then they put his ass back on the street again. And it's kind of like, where is the justice?
Well, it has to start with education. I was married to a woman who was a New York City school teacher, and I divorced her after a year. But I remember her and two other women were paid to teach kids that couldn't read. I mean, in public school in New York, the parent has to say that they can be left behind. So parents say, no, I want my kid promoted. And by the 5th grade, the kid can't read. Yeah. They put him into one of these schools for problem children. and then the kid becomes a criminal. But these three women were supposed to be there and teach these kids how to do their homework and help them after school. And one teacher would go and say, don't worry, I'll cover it this week, and you two stay home. And they'd still get paid, and the teacher would say, put your head down and go to sleep, and not teach them. I went there to pick up my wife and I said, where are the other two teachers? She goes, oh, these kids ain't going to learn anyway. Go to sleep. And she told me to go to sleep. And I say, what are you doing? You're robbing the city. I mean, they gotta educate these kids properly. They have to have teachers that actually do their job. I mean, how many teachers are in the Department of Education who don't work, who have tenure? They can't fire them. They've done bad things, and they just let them sit at a desk all day until they can retire. They got to get rid of them. They got to have teachers that actually work. It's ridiculous. That's the problem. That's why you have criminals, because these kids are frustrated. They can't read. They can't write. They can't do it. It's frustrating. They got to take care of the children. That's where you start. That's where society's problems start, with the children. Make them right, and then society will be right.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's my opinion.
For me, people say I read at a middle school, high school level, but when I was in school, because I took special ed classes, the teacher used to say, okay, what are we doing today? Here's the newspaper. Just go sit over there. Don't bother me.
Oh,
and I used to skip the class because I don't, I sat down for a 45-minute class. We're reading the goddamn newspaper. I'm like, you can't just do anything else. Or, okay, in her defense, sometimes we use the computer and used to learn about time and money, but half the other time we're around talking about BS and reading the newspaper. So I used to skip the class, or you used to take the middle school bus and purposely go late to school because I didn't want to be in that class.
I don't blame you. Really, I went to a Catholic high school, a private school. And then I actually ran for office, and I wouldn't leave the stage. I was preaching revolution. I was a crazy kid in high school, and they expelled me. And I went to public high school, Springfield Gardens, for about 3 months of my junior year. And I remember they put me in the accelerated class, and they gave me books that I had in the 7th and 8th grade in private school. It was ridiculous. I ended up getting back into my parochial high school. I couldn't take a public high school. It was horrid, and they got to change that. I actually saw the difference between my private education and then when I went in as a junior to public high school. It was like my 7th grade in private school. It was ridiculous. I was like, these people are morons. It was insane. I had to get the hell out of there. It was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're gonna wrap up the show. I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but I want you to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now, and what do you recommend it to everyone out there?
Well, I looked really quick, and I saw one of your interviews, and I said, okay, he's legit. He's not a troll. I suspected you might have been part of the group I'm running against, but I guess you're not. They have a habit of taking sound bites and putting them in little videos out of context to make you look bad. So, no, you're legit.
And now, how can our fans and listeners follow you on social media?
At CannonSag on Twitter. Facebook is just my name. And they can go to voteforchange.nyc, and they can see my platform.
No, absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. I really appreciate the honor, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. I just want to say thank you for your time.
That'd be fantastic, Keith. Thank you very much.